Just apologize or it's over. Tyler's voice cut through the chatter like a knife. Glasses froze mid-toast and all eyes turned toward us. My name's Harper. I'm 34, and right at that moment, I felt every ounce of the tension in the room press against me. I work in tech marketing, and I've always been the independent, reliable one, the daughter who balanced work, family, and the quiet ambition no one seemed to notice. I grew up in a middle-class household where responsibility was a badge of honor. My parents always counted on me to set the tone, to keep things running smoothly. I learned early that being dependable didn't always mean being appreciated. Recently, I got engaged to Tyler. I imagined our engagement party as calm, meaningful, filled with laughter and love. I imagined no yelling, no judgment, no chaos. That was naive. I wasn't rich or glamorous, I didn't have a fancy title or a trust fund, but I had something they didn't expect: tenacity, brains, and a quietly growing network that I used in ways most people couldn't even see. I love writing. My side blog is my secret place to share personal growth stories, the kind that remind me I can navigate any storm. Ironically, I'd just started learning event planning, helping organize my own engagement party. Now, here I was, in the center of a disaster I never planned. Tyler's words stung more than the champagne that almost spilled on my dress earlier. I wasn't the kind of person who demanded attention, but everyone expected me to be perfect, always, the one everyone counted on. And here I was, humiliated in front of friends, family, and the one person I thought I could trust. Then the door swung open. The room fell silent again. Tyler froze mid-gaze at me. Richard, his boss, stepped in, eyes narrowing, surveying the chaos. My stomach dropped. This unplanned arrival could either save the night or make it irreversibly worse. Every whispered comment, every sideways glance from the guests suddenly felt like they were holding their breath, waiting for what would happen next. I opened my mouth to respond, but the tension in the room made words stick in my throat. I had to choose: defend myself now and risk Tyler's wrath, or wait, bide my time, and find leverage. The power dynamics had shifted, subtly but unmistakably. Tyler was no longer untouchable, and Richard's presence added an unspoken threat that made me wonder how deep Tyler's arrogance would crumble under the right exposure. As I steadied my nerves, I remembered something important. I'd spent years quietly building connections in tech and events, people who noticed competence, not titles. Evidence, notes, records, all stored meticulously. And right now, they weren't just for my career. They were a potential shield, a way to reclaim control in a situation spiraling out of my grasp. Whispers bubbled around me. My cousin Emily smirked, Aunt Karen scowled, and Tyler's jaw tightened like steel. The room's energy shifted, charged with expectation and unease. I realized in that moment that humiliation doesn't define you. It's what you do next that shows your real strength. And I had a plan. They just didn't know it yet. The engagement party, the spilling of the drink, Tyler's public ultimatum, and Richard's unexpected arrival, it all combined into a storm that could either bury me or elevate me. I took a deep breath, letting the taste of expensive champagne and tension mingle on my tongue. I reminded myself, I had a network, I had evidence, I had preparation, and most importantly, I had composure, something Tyler never seemed to notice I could wield. I caught Madison's eye across the room, my loyal friend since childhood. Her subtle nod gave me a flicker of confidence. Someone saw me. Someone understood that what Tyler thought was a public humiliation was just the opening I needed. I wasn't powerless. Not here, not ever. Tyler's smirk faltered slightly as he sensed the shift, but he tried to mask it with arrogance. The guests, once focused on his outburst, now began to take in the room differently. Small murmurs rippled, curiosity sparking where judgment had reigned moments before. I didn't speak yet. I let the silence stretch, letting everyone wonder who would move first. Every second was a test. Every glance from Richard was a question. Tyler was exposed, just a little, and the tiniest crack in his armor could be exploited. I didn't need to shout or plead. I just needed patience, awareness, and a strategic mind. In that instant, I realized the truth. My independence, my meticulous preparation, my network of allies and knowledge, all of it mattered more than any apology Tyler demanded. And if I played this right, the power dynamics of the night would flip completely. I just had to wait for the right moment to strike. I didn't panic, I didn't cry. I stood tall, breathing in the tense air, tasting opportunity, knowing that the chaos of this engagement party was about to become my stage. Tyler thought he controlled the room, but he had no idea who I really was or what I was capable of when underestimated. The game had changed, and I intended to win. The party continued, but nothing felt normal anymore. Tyler tried to keep up appearances, forcing a laugh as people raised their glasses. I, meanwhile, slipped into observation mode. Every gesture, every whisper, every sideways glance was a clue. First betrayal came quickly. He deliberately placed me off-center at the head table for the speeches. Not only was it humiliating, but it was blatant. Everyone noticed, except him. Tyler didn't see that I was taking mental notes, cataloging each slight, each subtle power play. Aunt Karen's comment cut sharper than Tyler's offhanded insults. "High maintenance, aren't we?" she said with a smirk, as if she'd just solved a riddle. Tyler laughed loudly, the kind of laugh that says, "I own this moment, I define what's funny." I forced a smile, but internally my patience hardened. This was exactly what I had feared, the slow, deliberate dismantling of my confidence in front of everyone I cared about. Then came the vendor confrontation. Greg, the florist, approached to confirm the centerpiece arrangements. Tyler interrupted mid-conversation. "That's not what Harper wanted. Her ideas are wrong," he said, loudly enough for surrounding guests to hear. I felt a flush of embarrassment, but instead of reacting, I stayed composed. I watched, I listened, I documented. Every misstep, every contradiction, every lie. My notes would become weapons if I played this right. I leaned toward Madison, whispering in disbelief, "Can you believe this? Every chance he gets, he's undermining me." Her eyes flickered with understanding, the silent solidarity that only a friend who knew your history could give. She whispered back, "We'll get through this. Watch and wait. There's a way to flip it all." Her calm reassurance grounded me. Amid the chaos, I realized that allies mattered. They were the difference between humiliation and leverage. I started quietly collecting evidence, contracts, emails, discrepancies Tyler thought no one would notice. I smiled faintly as I remembered my side blog, the one I used to expose corporate mismanagement. Tyler had mocked it once, claiming I wasted time writing online rants. Little did he know those rants were practice for moments like this. Years of careful documentation, discreet networking, and attention to detail were suddenly more valuable than any designer jacket or forced charm he flaunted. Meanwhile, Tyler's arrogance only grew. He believed he'd permanently humiliated me, that I'd shrink into embarrassment like everyone expected. But I wasn't shrinking. Every insult became an opportunity, every exclusion a lesson in human behavior. I kept my composure, letting the tension build like a silent storm waiting to break. Guests continued to underestimate me, whispering, judging, and giggling behind their hands. I caught snippets. "She's so quiet. I don't think she's going to respond." Perfect. Let them think that. I could feel the energy of the room bending subtly in my favor. When people underestimate you, you gain invisibility, the chance to move without interference. I remembered a small smile from one of the vendors I'd befriended over months of event planning, a subtle nod, the kind that said, "I see you and I've got your back." Small alliances were forming around me without anyone realizing it. The room was no longer just a stage for Tyler's ego, it was a chessboard, and I had more pieces in play than anyone suspected. Madison quietly provided me insider info, whispering evidence of Tyler's business missteps, confirming suspicions I hadn't had proof of until now. I stored every word mentally, cataloging connections and potential leverage points. My calm exterior masked a fire building inside. Every insult, every slight, every laugh at my expense became data, and in that data, power. Emotionally, I was conflicted. Self-doubt flickered when Tyler laughed at Aunt Karen's barbs, when whispers of judgment swirled around me. But determination burned stronger. I wasn't powerless, not when I had preparation, allies, and foresight, not when I could see the angles that Tyler couldn't. By the time the next speech moment arrived, I felt poised, ready. The energy in the room had shifted subtly. Tyler still didn't notice, still believed he dominated the narrative, but I was biding my time. Every offhand remark, every attempt at public humiliation, every calculated slight was fueling my resolve. The audience thought I was passive, defeated, maybe even fragile. They had no idea I was strategizing, ready to reclaim the narrative and assert control in a way they'd never anticipate. I caught Richard's gaze across the room. His eyes flickered, curious but restrained. Tyler, unaware of the silent communication, shifted nervously. That small glance was a reminder. Power isn't just in volume or aggression, it's in patience, awareness, and precision. The room pulsed with expectation, but no one yet realized the real drama was building quietly in the background. I felt a tingle of excitement. All this chaos, every slight, every snicker, every dismissive comment, it was the perfect setup. I was ready to act, to expose truth, to show everyone that being underestimated was not a weakness but a tool. The storm was rising, and when it broke, the fallout would be undeniable. The next speech moment came, and I stood, laptop in hand, heart steady. Tyler barely noticed, too busy smirking at what he thought was my continued embarrassment. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, voice calm but firm, "there's something important you need to see." Gasps spread through the room as I projected slides onto the wall, emails, contracts, and evidence showing Tyler's disregard for vendor agreements and his repeated mismanagement. The murmurs grew louder. Tyler's face drained of color. "Harper, what is this?" he started, stumbling over words he'd never struggled with before. I held his gaze, my voice steady. "You told me to apologize or it would be over. But the truth is, you were the one hiding information, ignoring professional advice, and publicly undermining me." Richard leaned forward, scanning the evidence, his expression shifting from curiosity to concern. The room went silent again, this time in awe. Tyler sputtered, the confident, commanding figure he'd been moments ago collapsing under scrutiny. Guests whispered, some shaking their heads, some exchanging approving glances with me. Madison slipped me another folder discreetly. I projected more details, specific missteps, financial errors, emails where Tyler mocked my input while relying on my plans behind the scenes. The pieces fell together perfectly. Tyler could no longer control the narrative. My composure contrasted with his chaos, and everyone could see it. Tyler tried to interrupt, but I continued, calm, clear, and unwavering. "You wanted me to apologize, but this isn't about apologies. This is about accountability." Each word landed, deliberate, cutting through the tension like a blade. Family members shifted in their seats, eyes widening as they processed the truth. Tyler's parents exchanged worried glances. Aunt Karen's smirk vanished, replaced with surprise and unease. The power in the room had shifted completely. I felt it, not arrogance, but clarity. Every slight, every exclusion, every dismissive comment had become leverage I could wield. The humiliation Tyler intended to impose on me had backfired spectacularly. I wasn't just defending myself, I was rewriting the narrative. By the end, Tyler was quiet, forced to acknowledge the evidence, unable to manipulate perception. Richard, silently validating my findings, gave me a subtle nod of respect. Guests whispered in admiration, some congratulating me discreetly, others clearly reconsidering their assumptions about me. Madison caught my eye again, smiling with pride. I felt empowered, composed, untouchable in that moment. When I finally stepped away, I walked with confidence. Tyler avoided my gaze, realizing his attempts at control had failed. Family members, some apologetic, others thoughtful, recalibrated how they saw me. The embarrassment I had once feared was replaced with a sense of mastery, a quiet triumph. Humiliation had taught me patience, strategy, and self-worth. My power wasn't in seeking approval, it was in preparation, skill, and leveraging knowledge others ignored. I had been underestimated, but I had never underestimated myself. If someone you trusted ever humiliated you publicly, you know how raw it feels. Strength isn't always loud, it's in preparation, patience, and knowing your worth. Share your story, click hype, and remind the world that victory is possible, even when underestimated. Did this story hit home? Let me know by liking the video and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Click hype to help this story reach others who felt the same. Your support makes a huge difference.